Good morning. I am Steve Weber. Welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. Alrighty, yeah, today is Wednesday, September 29th, and I have a monologue and a guest. Alrighty, so that's what we're going to do today. The monologue is titled, let's see, we'll throw this up here. There we go. It's Create Good Content. We're going to talk about creating content today, and I'll tell you a little bit about some of my back thinking on content creation. And then I'm going to have a guest. Chawn Bracey is going to join us, and Chawn is the founder of Motivational Music. And so, or I'm sorry, Motivator Music. So he'll be joining us at about 15 past the hour. So that is what is coming up today on our broadcast. All righty. So now I will not be doing a show tomorrow on Thursday, September 30th, last day of September, tomorrow. And then on Friday, October 1st, I'm going to interview Robert Palmer. And Robert is a writing coach. And I took a seminar with Robert a couple of weeks ago, and we just connected. And I've kind of formed my own philosophy of writing, and his idea of writing and what he does is very much in alignment with it. So I think we're going to have a fun conversation on Friday. So that's what's coming up later this week, and then next week we'll just see what happens. We'll do probably a show or two. That's kind of the plan. So going forward, I think that's probably what we can expect. The next few weeks, we will be, doing 1, 2, 3 shows a week. We're doing 3 this week. And so anyway, that's kind of the plan. And I also have hopefully a strategic alliance to be announcing very shortly. I've been teasing that for a few weeks, and it's all happening, and that's been keeping me busy in the background. And that will take American Gumption to the next level. And so stay tuned for that. All right, that's the tease for that things. Alrighty, I think that's it for all the announcements I need to do. So let's go ahead and shift gears, and let's go ahead and talk about creating good content. That's my monologue for today. So it's funny. Our world is overflowing with content. We do not have a shortage of content. Everybody is a content creator. And here's the thing. It's not possible to consume all the content that is out there at the moment. You could spend hours every day consuming content. I actually do spend quite a few hours consuming content, but it's impossible to keep up with all of it because it's just coming at us so fast and furious these days. It's frankly kind of overwhelming. So now let's talk a little bit about the history of it. So I grew up in the 60s and the 70s, and looking back on it, content was pretty scarce. There were 3 networks. There was a couple of extra, TV stations that, played rerun type things, but they were, and then there became like kind of there was like the beginning, and it wasn't Fox back then, but there was like the beginning of like like maybe a 4th station. Maybe it was a local thing. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but basically you had 3 networks, you had radio stations, you had a library. I mean, I went to the library as a kid. You went there, you took out a book, you could do research, you could, go to the card files and look stuff up and then walk around. And, we had 2 sets of encyclopedias at home. One was in, Britannica. I don't remember what the second one was, the World Book, or I don't even remember, but we had a bookcase, and these were big, multiple volumes of, encyclopedias. It wasn't just like one book. There was like 2 shelves. There was 2 different sets, and they filled up a shelf full of them. And you go there and look at it, and figure out what's going on. And it was like a way to look something up. It's kind of like the Google of the day. That's how you found stuff. And then of course books and magazines. Magazine subscriptions were a popular thing. You would get different ones delivered. And over the years, I subscribed in the early days, especially. You subscribe to magazines, and after a year or 2 of them, you find that they come and you never even read them. some of them, and then some of them you do read, and some of them, I kept for, multiple years, and others you just had for a year or two, and, kind of faded away. So, but it was easy to keep up with what I would call content back in those days. In the 80s, TV started and MTV. I never actually was a big MTV person just because we didn't have cable, or I didn't have cable, at that particular time. And then of course, when cable came around, the number of TV stations kind of jumped up into the dozens. So suddenly there wasn't like, a handful or a couple of handfuls of TV options, but suddenly you had like dozens, like what, 30, 40, 50. And then now it's hundreds. It's hundreds. You can't, again, same thing, you can't consume all of the possible information for it. And then around the mid to late 90s, the web and email really became a thing. I remember it was probably 93, and I would come home at lunch to check my email. I was, I had a job, and I'd come home and see if I got any email. And that was kind of a funny thing to think about. Now you're plugged in with our devices. We're plugged in, 24/7 looking at the email 100 times a day or 1,000 times a day. All right. So by the early 2000s, the idea of blogging came around, and people started, creating a blog. And, initially you heard blog. I didn't even know what a blog was, a weblog. And then by the late 2000s, 2007, I think it was, or eight, probably, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they all burst onto the scene, and, content. So it just, got, greater and greater and greater as things went along there. All righty. So then, let's see here. So today we are overwhelmed with content. How do we keep up with it all? The email, the social media, the hundreds of cable TV stations, radio stations, Netflix, Roku TV channels. That's kind of the next big thing, I think. I don't know for sure, but people creating this type of content that I'm doing, where we're broadcasting, now people are starting to put them on. I mean, we started out putting them on YouTube, but now people get banned, and you can't put content up that doesn't meet certain certain criteria. And so anyway, Roku people are now beginning to create Roku channels. So in that realm, there's people out there looking for more content creators. It's amazing. So these it's like almost like a whole new network of broadcasters is coming about. So very interesting time that way that we live. All right. So here's kind of getting to the point where it's now my philosophy, my opinion. Going forward, creating content is no longer good enough. If in the early days, if you wrote something, people will go, oh my gosh, something new here. Let's look at it, see what it is, shiny objects. But now you have to actually create pretty good content. Otherwise, you're not going to build an audience. A lot of people out there just putting out content, nobody's paying attention to it. And some degrees, I don't know how much people are paying attention to what I'm doing, but we get a small audience, you start building it, you keep going. All righty. So how do you do this? How do you create challenge? How do you create good content? And that is the challenge. That's the $64,000 question. I mean, how do you create good content? So anyway, here's kind of some guidelines. I guess I got three essentially that I put up here. So first one is, don't just create content for the sake of content's sake. If you don't have a purpose of it, or if you don't, if there's not a meaning and a purpose behind what you're creating, you're basically just creating noise out there, and nobody's going to care about that. So first thing is create, something that has purpose and meaning. It has to have purpose and meaning to you. And the purpose and meaning not only has to be meaningful to you, but it really has to align with your soul's purpose. So what is your purpose on planet Earth in this lifetime? What are you supposed to be doing? If you can align that with the content you create, now you're going to be creating something good, and it's going to resonate with a group of people, and then you're going to build an audience. It needs to be your passion. The content that you create needs to be your passion. And not necessarily easy to figure out, but you can do it if you focus and pay attention to it. So and then the third thing, so the first thing I said was don't just create content for content's sake. Make sure it's your purpose, and then make sure that purpose is really aligned with your sole purpose. And then the third thing is this is going to go a little bit against what I said earlier, where I said don't just create content for content's sake. So my third one is be prolific. Create a lot of content. Now, once you found out what your passion and you've aligned yourself with it, then you can start creating content regularly. Now, some of that's not going to be really good content. That's where it comes to trial and error, and that's where the being prolific is. So if you're just being prolific to create content, not so good. But if you're creating content that is aligned and meaningful, okay, now you got some good content. Now you got some not so good content. You learn. But if you're doing it regularly, putting out there, broadcasting. In the first year of the show, I did a broadcast 5 days a week. And, that was prolific. That was creating a lot of content. So now with it. So again, or to wrap it up, easier said than done. And in some ways, this monologue is all about me, reminding myself of what I need to do, because it's not that easy to just, figure all this stuff out. And in many ways, I've been, it's been a journey of about 10 years for me, going down this path of, the whole content idea. What is my message? Gumption starts out, life lessons from the movie Forrest Gump. And then, kind of morphs into a combination of those two. And then the whole idea of gumption coming back and being stronger, with the life lessons being kind of a flavor of it all. It's just been like a big soup that's been brewing the last 10 years. And in many ways, I feel like, it's been a worthwhile journey, but it's just been a journey with that. And of course, now we go into that next phase of where we're going with this, and interviewing people and helping them, helping to spotlight the best part of what they're doing as far as the American Gumption show goes. All righty. So that is the monologue on creating good content. I don't know if this is any good of content that I'm creating, but hey, we're talking about it. All righty. Well, let's go ahead and wrap that up. And I see that our guest, Chawn Bracey, is here. So let's go ahead and welcome Chawn Bracey to the American Gumption Morning Show. Hey, Chawn, how you doing?
Hey, Steve, what's up? How you doing? Well, I'm doing well. Glad to be here. It is an honor to be on your show.
Oh, great. Well, I'm glad you're here. And, you're kind of inspired. We spoke a couple weeks ago, just privately, and got to know each other a little bit, and learned a little bit about what what you're doing. And so I want to talk about that. But before we get into that, Chawn, we have two rules here at the American Gumption Morning Show. Are you a good rule follower by nature, or are you kind of a rule breaker?
Well, it depends on the rule, I like to bend the rules a little bit. I gotta know the rules, and then you gotta know them. Gotta bend them.
Well, anyway, here's the rules. They're pretty simple. The rules are that I, as the host, I get to read a little bio that introduces who you are, tells people a little bit about you. That's an easy rule to follow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second one is, and this one should be easy for you too, is I get to play a song that is, I call it my first time guest theme song. And so whenever we have a guest who appears on the show, the very first time we play a song, and you're down with that because you're a music guy.
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, let me read your bio. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you in the big screen here. Whoops, move you over there. All right, there you are. And I'll read your bio, and then we'll play the song, and then we'll get into your story. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
So Chawn Bracey is the founder of Motivator Music. Motivator Music is dedicated to helping speakers grow their digital footprint and influence. They do this by creating inspirational speaking albums. We'll get into that, that feature a speaker's best content using their own voice and words. Chawn has added production elements used in the music industry and applied them to the motivational speaking business. The result is a playlist of best hits from the speaker's library of content. In our fast-paced world of sound bites, it's imperative that we all present ourselves in a manner that very quickly demonstrates our value and puts our best foot forward. If you're going to produce content, make sure you produce really good content and showcase that as your first impression. So, Chawn Bracey, welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. Hey, man, I'm glad you're here.
Glad to be here. I salute what you're doing, bringing more awareness to, content and the importance of content because, content is king nowadays. And that's what's going to get you seen and help you stand out depending on how good it is.
That's right. All right, let's play that song. And then it's all about you and I having a conversation. Ready?
Ready.
Have you ever had a marching band welcome you to a broadcast before, Chawn?
No, I'm honored. I was in the background dancing. I was like that, I don't know if I say that, but yeah, I was dancing. I was jamming.
Well, anyway, hey, American Gumption, a little John Philip Sousa. It felt like a good thing to do when I created the theme song almost a year ago. So there we go. Hey, so so we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, got to know each other, learned about what Motivator music's all about. So I think a good place to start is, just tell us a little bit about your background and how Motivator music came to be.
For sure. Motivator music came to be from social media collaboration. When I was back in broadcasting school, I started at the school because I was looking at ways to get on the radio, be seen and be heard as a musician. So I was going into the school with the mindset of, learning the ins and outs, everything that goes into production, distribution, marketing, radio. And as I'm in the school, learning everything and, implementing this stuff live, because a big part of broadcasting school is you're actually doing this stuff and learning from the people that are in the business. Our instructors were people from the TV station, from the radio station, and film industry. They would just come in and be our guest instructors, like literally every day. So in doing that, I literally started to film and, implement some of these things and ideas. And I really developed a passion for behind the scenes and creating, just creating something from scratch, because every time you get an idea or every time you're watching a movie or something like that, that started with a blank piece of paper a lot of times, or a blank Word document. They're writing up the idea, writing up the script, writing up the log, or, everything. And that process really stood out to me, especially knowing what goes into the final video. So I would pretty much recruit my classmates to be in little skits and videos, and they didn't always start out motivational, but as they went on, it caught the attention of a speaker, and then the speaker was just interested in how we could collaborate, how we could work together. They sent me a speech, and I edited the speech, put some music with it. And I was like, wow, this is pretty inspirational. I hadn't consumed a bunch of motivational content to the point I was like, wow, this is neat. I wonder what it would be like if we were to get another speaker up here to feature, and it would be kind of like a song. And did that, reached out to a bunch of them. They wrote me back, and that turned into an album. So I was like, wow, I'm getting overwhelmed with little snippets. They were just sending me little snippets of speeches, little phrases, and they just started adding up into, I was like, man, this is too much for one song to make it an album. And that album features speakers from here to Somalia. And with that, some of those speakers found a lot of value and were interested in getting this done for themselves. Like, hey, this album thing, I need me one of these. So started taking it all the way serious, because at the time I was still filming music videos as well. But I was like, I think there's really something here. because speakers are really struggling with standing out from other speakers, and they really struggle with monetizing their message. So I really think I can help them to help other people because they have a really positive message.
We there's a lot there, so we're going to go back and we're going to kind of dissect it a little bit. Uh, and I love what you're saying about the speakers, and that resonates with me. And that's really how we got connected, through the speaking world. But let's go back to where you were started out, and you were talking about, you said behind the scenes, and your shirt says producer on it. Let's just discuss what's the difference between someone who's a producer and someone who's a content creator. Because in my monologue, I talked about creating content. I consider myself more of a content creator, and yet you're more of a producer. Maybe people don't understand the difference between those two.
Yeah, I feel like we're all one and the same. We are creating. We are creating something. We come up with ideas and implement them. A producer, technically is someone that creates music or produces videos or maybe produces films. And me, this shirt, this is where it resonates with me because within my company we do all of that. We're a full scale, full service production company. We do audios and videos. Mostly, our core product is the speaking albums. But I would say a content creator is just someone that's more social media based and putting out. I would say, yeah, that to answer your question, I would say it's more social media based and just getting that stuff out there, making sure they're searchable, their digital footprint, they have that digital footprint set up. You're easily searchable across Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, like all of these social platforms. And I would say a content creator, a true content creator, is easily searchable and produces at least maybe three posts a week. They say every day, but that's kind of hard.
Yeah. One of the challenges that, as a speaker, and you said that you help speakers, and we'll get into that, but, like speakers have like a 45-minute talks, let's just say, or an hour talk. Well, the problem is nobody has time to listen to, or the patience to listen to get that out of there. So as a producer, how do you go through and how do you find those like little gems or those little, pieces of gold, and then start to, produce it or to assemble those things into something that becomes attractive? Because I think that's really where that's your secret sauce. That's what you guys focus on, and that's what you do for people who have the ability to create a lot of content but don't necessarily know how to package it.
Absolutely. So with my process, that's our pre-production process. When we're getting that speech and say a speaker uploads that's their full speech or full keynote or a couple keynotes to the Google Drive. And like you're saying, it's 45 minutes. You got to find the gems. So what I do is just do I get it, I upload it, I put it on my phone, put some headphones in, and just do regular everyday stuff that I would do throughout my day and see what catches my ear. Because I'm all about that. So I'll maybe go for a job, just do work. Maybe put some music on, cook. Just do like all of the basic stuff and see what catches my eye. And this process could be like, I could do this for maybe 3 or 4 hours, even if it's like 30 minutes. So I'm catching, so I'll write a phrase down here. I write down, okay, what mark was that? Okay, that's 10-minute mark. Go back to that, and I would just do regular everyday stuff and see what catches my eye and my ear.
So it's interesting that you say it that way, because I've tried to do some producing where like I go back to my shows that I do, and but right away I'm like thinking, I'm thinking like, well, like I'm working at the editing production, studio where it's like you're watching through and go, oh, that's good, oh, that's not good, kind of thing, and starting to slice and dice that way. But what you're saying is you like to, just kind of put it on, especially at the beginning, and just like go about doing your normal activity to see what resonates and what stands out, as opposed to immediately jumping into like an editor mode.
Yeah, it's definitely a process, and I like when I do jump in editor mode, but I like to start like ideally I like to start out that way, and I want to have an idea of what I'm looking for of the stuff that I'm going to use. From that first part where I'm like in the pre-production mode where I'm just listening to it throughout my everyday, I still give it a fresh listen. So this could be like this is why some stuff takes so long. Some movies are filmed for like years. Like I still when I get into the computer, I give it another fresh listen. So see what catches my eye. Say as on a computer, I may hear something a little different as I'm on the computer. I may hear something a little bit different as I'm jogging. So just all of those moments in the one.
Do you ever, Chawn, do you have people who come to you and they say, they kind of maybe have done like a little bit of pre-editing and they kind of give you like a rough outline of what they're thinking? And so the question is, if they do that, is that helpful, or are they like sometimes sending you down like, the wrong path from what you're hearing?
Yeah, I would say everything is helpful, but I would say sometimes when there's like an idea where somebody, okay, I want to use this, I want to use this part to this part, that doesn't necessarily speed up the process because you still have to see what you're going to use off of that. There's like it's just a piece of the puzzle. You still have to figure out everything else that goes into the puzzle. So sometimes when somebody has something they literally like exactly want to use, having to creating the moments or creating the everything around that could be a challenge, because if you're going to do that, you kind of have to tell me everything, because it could make it more difficult.
Yeah. I'm thinking about like a movie, as opposed to the music thing, but it could be the same. I think the process is the same, but maybe it's easier to visualize with a movie where you have an actor or a group of actors, and they're performing, and they're doing what they're kind of, what they believe is the right thing. They're following their script, and a speaker, he creates a script that he's going to deliver. He creates his message, and then they deliver that. And so it's like a performance that they go through. Now, here's the point I'm trying to get at, is that we need somebody to see it differently than our own eyes are seeing it. Because I think of myself more as that like creator, talent person out in front of the camera, and the person behind the scenes editing it and creating the final what it looks like is it's just very different roles. And I don't know that very many people do both really well.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. You got to wear different hats. You have to think as the viewer. You have to a lot of times you have to think as a person that's going to be consuming the content. What are they going to be doing? How what mindset do you want to put them in after listening to it? So these are some of the things that you have to think about, or then I'm always thinking about when I'm creating something. Because you're thinking for the viewer, you're thinking for the listener. You're creating emotions. How can you create certain emotions so we can really connect, so they can really engage with whatever you're creating?
When you were at school and you were doing studying, you said that you wanted to, you thought of yourself as a content creator, as a musician,
Yeah.
and you wanted to learn the production side just so that you could kind of have and my words, not yours, like have like a better knowledge of, or a better overall working of it. And yet you were drawn to that behind the scenes production more than, the creation of content or music in this case. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I wanted to be the producer and not the talent. You need talent to produce and everything like that. But a lot of times you're the last person. As the musician, there's a lot that goes into a concert, and you're just pretty much standing on the stage, and all of that stuff is so much more work that goes into that, and I appreciate that so much more than just simply being the person that's like in front of the stage. So I really salute everybody that's on production teams. I salute everybody that films, everybody that edits, because a lot of times they go unappreciated. People think you could just snap a finger and you have like a completed movie or completed album, but there's so much more that goes into it. And I really salute that, because I'm all about the work. So it was more of a challenge for me, and I really like challenges.
I realized that I had the American Gumption logo streaming across the bottom. I need a producer behind the scenes with this show to make it run smoother. But I did notice it, and I changed it to motivatormusic.com. That's Chawn's website. So now that is up there live, so people can go to the website and learn more about Chawn. So let's use this as a segue into telling people what is on the website when they go there.
Yeah. So what's on the website? It's pretty much like a hub for information. We have some samples, some audio, some demo reels. Also, we want to send it like a hub for speakers to go and learn and see how they can monetize their message. Whether that's with us, of course, we want you to work with us, but or that's you creating it yourself, or maybe somebody else. One article I'm really excited about is NFTs. And before we were jumped on the call here, well, I was in the backstage on Zoom. I heard you talking about different ways to put your content out there and different forms of content, and I feel like NFTs should be taken really serious right now. There's a whole lot going on. The NBA is launching NFTs. The NFL is launching NFTs. The next James Bond movie is being sold as an NFT, and we're going to hear about it like more creeping on, like more and more as each month goes on. Something else was just made into an NFT, and I even see in the event space, that you can tokenize the way you can tokenize it and bring more of a community and further really engage beyond the stage through NFTs. I think everybody should really kind of just start paying a little more attention to it and seeing how they maybe could, create one themselves.
It's interesting time that we live in, Chawn, where I mentioned in my monologue when I was a child, there were three networks, and the like it was like one size fits all, or it was like you made it big if you got onto the network. But nowadays it's like, how do you nowadays there's going to be like lots of little communities, and they can still be significant in size. They can become thousands or tens of thousands of people who are watching them, but they're not going to be necessarily millions of people who are watching them. So as this world is changing and evolving, nobody really goes and watches the big three networks anymore. I mean, they're still there. They're still the biggest thing out there, but it's not like they have the monopoly that they did. So all these other little like town halls or communities are going to crop up in the digital space that, if you like a certain type, if you like inspirational messaging and from speakers, then there's going to be people who gravitate to that. And if your thing is about sports and that whole realm, then there'll be smaller microcosms of those. So I think that's what you were saying, but I'd love to hear your opinion on if that's what you see things happening.
Absolutely. When you're able to build a community, the world is in your hands, really. Whether that's a small, you can start with a small share group of people. It could be 10 people that agree to just share a post every time it's posted. And then from there, there's going to be another person that you're catching their attention. Now that group turns into 11 people, and then 30, 40, 50, 100. It all starts small, and you can really tap into any opportunities just off of building a small community that grows, and going back to NFTs, you're able to also have your community make money with you from investing in one of your projects or NFTs. They want to see it grow because they're getting profit, and actually as you sell it, you're able to set a commission or pretty much a dividend to where every time it's resold, you can get a certain percentage of it. So your community is going to love you even more, and they want to see you grow even more because they're invested in you, and you guys are all profiting together. So I would say any entrepreneur, content creator, anyone should focus on building a community and not worry about if you're getting likes, views, streams at the moment. Even if it's one person, two people, 3, 4, 50, that's one person at a time. And then when you can connect with them, the sky's the limit.
who is the ideal person that should be thinking about contacting you, and going to your website and looking, at what you offer? Are they someone who's more at the beginning of their career, or is there somebody who's more established in their career, but now needing like the next level, up? How do you see your ideal client?
I would say right now, with the whole digital space, with the whole total digital shift that's happened since COVID, I would say everybody. Ideally, it would be any speaker that has at least maybe a year of experience that's dabbled with trying to get their own speaking engagements, trying to find opportunities, um, you know, face some road bumps or some roadblocks. Or it could be also a speaker that's been speaking for 20 years and they're looking for ways to freshen it up or bring new life to their talk. So, offer a better or more different, talk to organizations that they've been speaking at already so they can keep getting booked by that organization and they really want to spice it up. So I see everyone having a lot of having getting a lot of value from what we can offer right now.
All right. Well. What else would you like to share? About this whole idea of creating inspirational albums, and and maybe mention the album concept, because it's not like you're going to press a vinyl, but so I guess it's a metaphorical album. But just talk about, like, why would someone want to create an album?
Yeah, you can create a album to truly monetize your talk and really engage beyond the stage, and also sell from the stage or even incorporate it within your speech. Why not have theme music to introduce yourself when you're speaking? It could be yourself, whether that's like a 30-second little blurb as you're walking onto the stage, and there you're getting PRO royalties because now your stuff is being played and it's another stream. And whether you want to incorporate it within your talk, maybe at a midpoint as you're transitioning, you want to keep the crowd engaged, you want to keep the crowd fresh. That's another way. Or your outro as you're walking off the stage, and as you're selling from the stage, or you're trying to, engage. Like, hey, so I want everybody to download my album. You can stream it now. It's now available across all streaming platforms. There, you're engaging with the audience. The audience a lot of times in these organizations is going to get you rebooked when they're asking about you after you left, like next month, or when there's noticing change in the organization or not. They want to be like, hey, so who is that speaker? We have their album. It's really good. I listen to it every day. It's awesome. So I would say definitely create one because you can really engage like never before.
One of the last ideas I want to talk to you about is, you said, let's see, where is it? So you've added elements, production elements used in the music industry, and applied them to the motivational speaking business. You're not just taking the little sound bites that they have. Um, Although that's a big part of it, but what are some of these other production elements or other things that you add that kind of just make it more interesting? And maybe the listener wouldn't even notice them being there, other than the fact that it's a more pleasant listening experience.
Yeah, a lot of times there's opportunity to add a chorus element, the chorus or the hook of a song which you're listening to and while stuff is being streamed, that melody that's stuck in your head, those words that's stuck in your head, that, like, but in the speaker form it could be a phrase or a one liner, like, so that's what we're doing, like the chorus element. And playlisting is another thing that we really focus on in the music industry, uh especially nowadays. Record labels want to get your stuff featured on certain popular playlists where people are already streaming and listening to it every day. So what we do, there's a bunch of playlists for motivational content. So we get your stuff streamed on those top playlists to where you can build your audience. So now not only are you engaging the event planners, you're also building an audience that you can leverage to the event planners so they can book you. Say, hey, I've built 5,000 streams or 10,000 streams on my album on this topic that I'm going to give to your organization. So we help you feature on playlists, and also partner. We have a partnership with the Pep Talk app, which right now is like the number one motivation app in the world. So there's stuff from Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas, Gary Vee, Oprah, a lot of the top speakers up there. So we get you set up with your own playlist up there and streaming on some of the popular ones. So that's some of the things we incorporate within the speaking business.
Do you also help people, get like create a, like a podcast or get them listed on different podcast things or different social media? Is that part of what you're doing too, or are you strictly just sort of creating the content that would be good for those channels?
Yeah, so we do create content that would be good for those channels, and some of our clients just need help with their podcast. Like they want some intro music for the podcast, or some transition stuff, or some light editing on their podcast. And we like to think of these tracks, these speaking tracks, as podcasts, but just in short form content. It's the same value that you get from listening to a 40-50 minute podcast, but just condensed into 2 to 3 minute messaging. You still get that same value because the quality of information that you're getting, and you also get checking off the entertainment box as well.
Why is it that, like an intro or an outro, transitional, like little, like maybe 5-second transitional things, why is it that that makes a better experience for listeners? Listeners probably aren't even necessarily aware of them, and yet they like that sort of thing. Why does it, from a psychological or from a production point of view, why does that work?
It works because a lot of times when we're listening or watching a movie, I know, say if you're watching a movie, most people don't realize that there's sound throughout the whole movie. Like there's music being played, there's sound effects, there's stuff that sets the tone. There's a lot of little things that come at the right moments. So, and that's because they were creating it with the person, with the idea of the listener and watch and viewer in mind. So it's the same for the podcast, as you're doing those transitions. Because like as you're maybe as a moment where you're maybe starting to kind of doze off a little bit, or wanting to veer off, that's when you hear some kind of transition or some kind of sound effect. So it just keeps you engaged and just kind of, it's hard to keep somebody's attention for, especially nowadays, like 20-30 minutes. So that those sound effects, those little things that you won't even ever really notice, that's the key to doing that.
Yeah, I working with a friend and helping her just create a few little videos, and I wanted to put in kind of an ending that like always like signified, even these were like maybe like a 2 minute sound, 2 minute clip, but it always signified, oh, that's the end. And it was just very short and sweet, but it kind of ended it like on a high note. There was a little jingly music, and and then use similar types of graphics to end each one specific to whatever the content of that was. So anyway, I think it's important to have these production elements in it, and it sounds like that's really what your organization's all about doing. It's just taking people who have good content, but packaging it in a way that it just makes it that much more appealing.
Absolutely more appealing. We no one's going to do anything super new. You just have to find different ways to do the same thing. Just highlight some of your content. So if you can just get people to look at what you're doing in a different light, then I feel like you're on the right track. So just kind of repurposing your content in ways that are like atypical. So that's how you can get like clickbait. It's the same, people do use clickbait. So what would clickbait, in a like with integrity, look like for whatever you do. So it's kind of that kind of mindset. You got to get that view. So once they're engaged, like, oh, this is just that, but you're already watching it. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. What would you like to, again, Chawn Bracey has been our guest, and motivatormusic.com is the website. I'm going to give you the last word. I mean, what should people do if they're interested?
Yeah, check out the site. Send us an email. I feel like I'm fairly searchable, and if nothing else, pay attention to what's going on with NFTs right now and see if maybe you want to jump into that field. I can help you. We just minted about 10 NFTs. We just launched a new NFT collection of future moguls. We're gonna build that up and see what happens there. We're looking at helping other people create. We're gonna do albums as NFTs. NFT albums as well. As a part of like right now, I think the next 3 or 4 speakers that get an album, they're going to get a complimentary NFT set up as well. So yeah, if you want an NFT album, you have a little bit of time to to get it complimentary. So after that, it's gonna be like, twice the price. So album package right now is 5K, but NFT album is gonna be 10K if you want to get a setup. But right now, it'll be complimentary with your album. So
Well, Chawn, hey, thanks for coming on, and I appreciate your being here. I love the idea that you are labeling yourself as the producer. Your shirt says it, and I think that us content creators need to align with a producer because it just makes like you got two different roles happening simultaneously, and they complement each other and they enhance each other. And it's not like one is better than the other, but it's like one and one. Both make the other look better. So,
absolutely, it's teamwork.
All righty. Well, thanks for joining us, and please come back again. Okay.
I shall. And you have a great rest of your day. I love this show. Keep doing what you're doing. You are a great content creator.
I just need a producer.
Got you.
We need to line up. We need a partner, Chawn.
Let's work it out.
All right. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, thanks, Chawn Bracey. Again, motivatormusic.com. Please go and see his website. Really, it was from the speaking world. And I don't think of myself so much as a speaker these days. And yet, that's a big part of who I am and what I've been doing over these last 10 years. And it's still part of what I do. But, American Gumption's taking on its own life and definitely need production value. And as I take this out on the road in the future. So Chawn and I may end up doing some, business together. But I'm really glad that we met, and I'm glad that he was here today. And if you're a speaker and you're, using content, you should definitely check it out because, his approach is like on that cutting edge of what is needed to take, to take good quality content that's been created and package it in a way that makes it even more appealing. So that's that. All righty. Well, let's see. We got Debbie G has been checking in with us, and then Nicole. Marie Campbell says, "Hey, great advice. Thank you so much." And Debbie G, we love you. Thanks for joining us here this morning. All righty. Well, that's it. I'm going to get out of here just a few minutes early today. Let me just tell you what's happening here. On Friday, I have Robert Palmer coming in. He'll be with us, and Robert is a writer. And I was in a class of his a couple of weeks ago, seminar or webinar or online writing course. And so we're going to talk about that specifically, but we're going to talk about writing in general. I love the idea of writing. And so I'm excited about the conversation that we have on Friday. And that's it. I will not be doing a live show tomorrow. We're working on behind the scenes things. We'll be announcing a partnership with American Gumption here shortly. I'm teasing it. It's all good. Lots of good things are happening. So have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all on Friday.